Hello, welcome to the Knitting Podcast, episode 3. So happy to be here after a week off. I was solo parenting last week and I did have plans to record a podcast for YouTube last week and then I just did not get to it. I also have a substack, which that's where I record just my normal podcast, no video, it's just audio, and an episode comes out every week on Fridays and it's like for paid subscribers, and I had to get that done for the week. So that took priority last week, but I'm excited to be back. I have like a smattering of things that I want to talk about today. So let's get into it. First, I want to share, I don't know, I have this stuff in my lap right now. I'm not talking about that yet. I want to share some things that make my knitting life easier and more enjoyable, okay? So the first is this bag. I'm sure you have seen ads for this bag. I have gotten targeted with so many ads for this bag, and I finally just decided to get one, and I really, really love it. It is like literally just perfect for what I need it for. I have like some like random stuff in here right now, Halloween candy, a scrunchie, but when it's like packed with everything I need, it's so nice. So I have like this little container with some stuff. I'm going to be making some cute little like charms, stitch markers in there. So I got these little charms from Michael's, and I got this box to keep them all in. I'm going to give them to friends as gifts for Christmas. I thought that would be fun. And then I can keep like a project or two in here, but I also have this, which I really love. This is literally a candy container, one of those like the Trader Joe's like sour strawberry strips. This is the container from that. Literally when I open it, I washed it, like I literally washed it. It still smells like the candy. And we have one more. My husband is finishing up the candy and then I'm going to steal it. But in here I have my shorties, the most used ones. It's kind of a mess right now, but I just keep like the stuff that I use the most that's like small, that gets lost in like a bigger bag. So my little measuring tape from Coco Knits. I love this little thing. I got some stitch stoppers, needles. All of my stitch markers were in here, and then I accidentally grabbed the wrong end and dumped them all out. So those are all over in here. I have my little Chiagu stuff, the thing to tighten the needles, and a pair of scissors, and this little thing. I don't remember ever buying this. Maybe it came with one of the needle sets. It's like a gauge swatch thing, and then like needle sizer. So just like all these little tools that I might need on the go or whatever. I also have a single double pointed needle, just one. Not sure why just one, and a crochet hook. So this is like stuff I keep with me all the time. These are the most used shorties. I have the blue ones. I am asking for the yellow ones for Christmas. I might just buy them for myself because that's kind of a big Christmas gift, but I am going to ask for them for Christmas. I also keep the red ones in here, but I just don't use them nearly as much as the blue ones, so they're not going in this little thing. So anyways, I keep that in here with this. This doesn't really need to be kept in my knitting bag, but it's just, I'm keeping myself organized. And then the next thing is I have gotten into A6 notebooking just a little bit, and just for knitting stuff. People really do go so deep into like the notebooking world, and I'm not there yet by any means. I just wanted a nicer way to keep track of like my project notes and all of that. I have like a small like 3-ring binder, but I did not ever have the correct size paper, and I didn't have a hole punch. There was like a whole thing. So I just got one of these. It is an A6 notebook, and I got a little pouch. I also have a little pouch in the back, but I literally just write my project at the top, the size that I need to make, the yarn that I'm using, the size needles I'm using, what the gauge is, and if I met the gauge. And then I will just have a space for notes down there. And what I like about it is it's a binder, so you can take things out and move them around. So I have like my next projects right here, and like my current projects right in the front, but I literally have filled out like so many of these. And if I want to like move a project to the front, I can. So I really like that. I just got this one on Amazon. It's cheap. It was really cheap. And I got just like paper refill for it. And it came with like 2 extra refills. So I'm set in there, and I just have like highlighters and pens in there. And yeah, I would love to get into this as like a way to journal like my life, my like everyday life. I've seen people who do 1 page a day, and they just put, it's kind of like a scrapbook, kind of like a journal, and they like tape things in or paste things in, like photos or like ticket stubs, or like they dry a flower and stick it in there or whatever. I would love to get into that, and maybe I'll do that in the new year. I actually have mine upside down because I didn't want this on the front, so this is the back. This is the front. So I would really love to get into that, but for now, this is just my knitting notebook, and I love it, and it goes everywhere with me because I always need to like refer back, like, oh, what size am I making in that? So I know on the pattern what size I'm to pay attention to. All of that. I really, really love it. So that goes in my knitting bag as well. And then it can literally fit, so this is my Lakes pullover. It can fit like a whole sweater and a ball of yarn, or multiple. There's actually a ball of yarn on the bottom that's not related to this project, but like I have so much space in here. And I love that it's like a square or like a rectangle, and it stands up. It's a flat bottom. I really love it. So if you've been looking at this brand, I don't know anything about the brand, to be honest. And I know there are way more luxurious ones out there, but for me, for my budget, for my season of life, where I'm also like probably going to be like shoving snacks in here at some point for my kids, I just need one that's like simple, that's not going to get ruined easily. And I really like this, and it comes in a lot of different colors. So if you need a knitting bag, I highly recommend this. And it has all of these out here. I did try putting some of my circular needles in here, and they did fall out. So, and I don't use straight needles, so I'm not really sure what else I would use this outside part for, but I do love having the option for that. So that is my little knitting bag and my knitting notebook, and just some things that have been bringing me joy lately. Okay, I have a couple finished objects to share. Just some small accessories. And I have a couple things I want to chat about today. So one is going to be like knitting speed and the pressure to be faster than I am. And also like the desire to be faster than I am, because I just have so many things I want to make and so many plans, and I'm so inspired at all times. I also want to talk about like overconsumption in the knitting world, and like how I'm kind of trying to find the balance between consuming too much and creating too much, and like wanting to create too much. Overconsumption in terms of like buying yarn and like keeping yarn. Between that and like being very mindful over like what I'm creating, what I'm putting into the world. Like I don't want to create more waste, all that. So I would love to get into those topics at some point. But first I will do my finished objects, then I will share my whips, and then I'm just gonna knit and talk for a little bit, if that's cool. Okay, first finished object is the Helka hat. This is very cute. This pattern is by Knitters and Friends, and I really love it. I think that I could have gone down in needle size. I'm a very loose knitter, and for this particular project I did not make a gauge swatch because it's just a beanie, so I'm like, I just didn't really want to. I am a very loose knitter. I could have gone down in needle size, and so I took note of that in my notebook, my knitting notebook, and next time I make this hat I'm going to go down in needle size. And the yarn that I use is Camarose Sneffnug. I'm not sure of the color, but it's like the only color like this. I love that yarn so much. I should have talked about it in my favorite yarns thing that I did in the last episode, because I really love the yarn. It's a blown yarn, and it's super, super soft, like very, very soft. Perfect for a beanie. The pattern calls for also a strand of mohair to be held with Sneffnug. I did not hold the mohair because I don't do well with mohair close to my skin, close to my head, especially if it's gonna be touching up here. My skin on my face is quite sensitive, and I like typically get like a rash right here from beanies, so I gotta be really careful about this. This one does sit kind of a little bit further back, but isn't she so cute? I really love it. I love this color. I have some Drops Air in my stash, and then I have a couple of other colors of Sneffnug, and I would like to make some of these for gifts. I actually started this a long time ago, and it was in like the bottom of my purse for like a couple months, and then I just finished it up within like the last week, and I really love it. Highly recommend. Knitters and Friends is a great pattern writing company. I love all their designs. As you'll see, I'm knitting another one of them. I made another Alex scarf. I have not blocked it or woven in the ends, But this pattern is by Knitting for Olive. I love this as an alternative to the Sophie scarf. This will grow a little bit when I block it, and it won't be as stiff, but I just haven't had a chance to block it yet. I used Barocco Vintage, so this actually does have some acrylic in it. Typically, I do not love acrylic at all, but for something that's going to be close to my neck, I will allow it. And this is not a squeaky acrylic at all. There's nothing sensory about it. It's just very soft. It's an acrylic like wool blend, I believe. And I bought it from my local yarn store. So I'm like, because of those reasons, I feel good about using acrylic for this project. I also typically do not like using superwash wool, which is another thing. My other Alex scarf, you'll remember, I made in Malabrigo Rios, which I believe is superwash. Yeah, I just like the wooliness of wool, you know? But again, because it's gonna be against my neck and I am quite sensitive to stuff like that, especially on my neck. That's like the main place I'm sensitive is my neck. My arms could care less. They don't care about wool, but my neck. So yeah, I love it. Love this color. I really love the idea of just like a little pop of color to add to like any outfit. My other one is done in like a bright, like periwinkle-ish blue. And I just love the pop of color that I can add to literally any outfit. It's so cute, so fun. Highly recommend. I'm actually working on an Instagram post / Substack post of like a little roundup of cute little scarves that are not the Sophie scarf that anyone can knit up in like a really quick minute. This took me a day and a half. My other Alex scarf took me a day and a half. Like, it's a really quick knit. So highly recommend this pattern. Love Knitting for Olive and all their stuff. Those are my only 2 finished objects. And now for my works in progress. My Lakes pullover. I actually don't remember what I shared last of my Lakes pullover. I think it was that I had to unravel the bottom, okay? And I did that, and I redid the bottom. I did, before I redid the bottom ribbing, I finished this sleeve, and it's great. I love it, but I was like scared off from Italian bind off. I never have had Italian bind off be too tight like that, like how it was on here. Like it was like really stiff, like it was not stretchy at all. And I was like, did I just pull it too tight? I was so confused. I'd never had that happen before. So then I was like researching like stretchier bind offs to do, and I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I think it's called Jenny's, right? I think Judy is the one with the surprisingly stretchy cast on, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, and I liked it. It's very stretchy, almost too stretchy. Like there's like no structure down here at all. So I can see where if you're making like something that needs to go over your head or like something like that, or like a beanie, this could definitely come in handy. But like for the end of a sleeve, I don't know. I might unravel it and redo it. It's also a little bulkier than Italian bind off, and so when I went back to do the ribbing on the body, I did do Italian bind off, but I was just very mindful of like how tight I was pulling it, and it came out fine. I've tried it on since and it's fine. It's stretchy enough and it looks good. I just love the way Italian bind off looks. It looks so clean and nice. So I do prefer to do it, even though it takes so long. The Jenny surprisingly stretchy bind off did not take as long as Italian bind off, I will say. So there's something. I mean, it really is not that noticeable. I notice it because I'm the one who's making it, you know? Like, I always think about that. Like, the outside world is not going to notice a slightly bulkier bind off, you know? But I will notice it, and I'm the one who's going to be wearing it. And so I just want it to be perfect, you know? So anyways, that's my progress on my Lakes. If you missed the details before, I am using Blue Sky Fibers wool stock in the color Golden Meadow, and I love it so much. This is the best color. It is so fun. This is another yarn I found at my local yarn store. I had never used anything from Blue Sky Fibers before, and I was so happy to find this there. I also have gotten a couple other yarns from Blue Sky Fibers from my yarn store because of my wonderful experience with this. I got their prairie, like mohair, I don't actually think it's mohair, but their prairie like lace weight halo yarn. It's really soft, and I got it in a beautiful blue color, and I'm excited to use that with something. But anyways, Lakes pullover, love her so much. Absolutely love the construction. It's just amazing. I really love it. next thing that has had some movement on it since the last time I talked to you is my Baba cardigan number 23 dupe. This is, I'm using the Hanny cardigan pattern by Knitters and Friends. I am a super fan of them. And this is the second time I have made this specific pattern. I have made a handful of modifications to it. And yeah, here it is. I finished both the sleeves. I will say I redid, I don't remember which sleeve it was, one of these sleeves. I finished it 3 times and took it out 3 times and had to reknit it because I just wanted the decreases to be perfect, and I had an issue with, like, I thought that it was going to be too tight around that, like the armhole was too tight. It was like issues that I don't really need to go into, but it was a lot of trial and error because I wanted it to be like the perfect slope. I had to do some pretty quick decreases because I did want the body to be oversized like the Baba. So I made the body to the measurements of the Baba, and then because it is oversized and it's a drop shoulder, I also had to make sure, because I wanted the bracelet length sleeves, so I had to make sure that I did the right number of decreases, and it was just, yeah, it was just trial and error. So there's all my decreases right there. I just have never really been super like meticulous with arm decreases before. I've never really had to. So I really, like, I don't keep track of them very well typically. So I put in a stitch marker for every single arm decrease, same on this side too, because I'm like, I just want to get it right. And I've already done this 3 times. Like, yeah. So anyways, I'm really pleased with how it turns out. I am hoping that it will grow just a smidge with blocking, not too much. I don't want it to be down here. I do want the bracelet length because that is what the cardigan has. Baba's cardigan is the bracelet length sleeves. I need a drink. My decaf pumpkin latte. I made that like an hour ago. I forgot about it. Anyways, so yeah, a little bit of trouble with the sleeves, but I do really like them, and I'm just really hoping that they grow the correct amount. The yarn that I'm using is 2 strands of Isager tweed held with 1 strand of Isager mohair. And I did see a comment someone left, which I did not respond to, but I meant to. Anyways, someone asked why I didn't just use the Isager Aran tweed, and that would have been a great option. I did look into that, but they did not have this color brown. The brown that they have is a lot lighter. It is like, I would say in the same color family as this, but it's just a lot lighter version of this. And I really wanted like the dark brown. So if I was doing any other color, I would have done the Aran tweed and it would have been probably more affordable. But I was just very set on this specific dark brown color. So that's why I did the 2 strands of tweed and the 1 strand of mohair. And I thought that I was going to be able to do 1 strand of tweed and 1 strand of mohair. So that's what I originally started out. And then I realized as I was knitting up the gauge that it was a lot thinner than I wanted. I wanted it to be like that Baba, like, thickness. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to order a whole nother set of tweed so I can hold it double. So that's how it happened. I did not start out with that in mind. I didn't want it to be that expensive, but it did end up being that expensive. So that's why I'm taking my time and making it perfect. So she's looking really good. I am working on the body now. Then I just have the double knit button band, which the button band on this, I think I talked about this every single podcast episode that I've done so far. The button band on this pattern is just chef's kiss. It is so good. Double knit button band. And then I'm going to be doing an extra wide folded ribbed collar at the top. There's a woman on TikTok. I think her TikTok is Lamby Knits, like a lamb, Lamby knits. She's this wonderful, sweet British woman. I love her so much. I want to be friends. She made this same dupe using this pattern, and I'm kind of following all of the modifications that she shared. And she did 40 rows of ribbing and then folded it. So it's going to be pretty wide, which that's what the cardigan is. So that's perfect. 40 rows. I'm really pleased with how this is turning out so far, and hoping to finish this and my lakes in like the next week-ish. So we'll see how that goes. And then earlier this week, well, actually it was when I was solo parenting. I had a really great like first few days. I was only solo parenting for 4 days total. And my focus when I'm solo parenting is to keep my mindset high and then to be a fun mom, focus on just being fun and enjoying my kids and having fun with them and not getting all of the like back end stuff done. And I have to focus on just like being present as much as I can, or I just get sad and tired and miss my husband. You know, I'm really good at solo parenting, to be honest, but I have to stay on top of my mindset or I just get sad and tired. And I was like, I'm going to be tired either way, but I could be fun mom and be tired instead of being like sad and tired. And so that's what I focused on. And it worked for the most part until the last day, which is also the day I started my period. So, you know, there's that, which luteal phase and solo parenting, don't know that I would like necessarily recommend the two together, but I didn't really have a choice. So we rocked it. We did great until the last day. And I was just really struggling on the last day. My kids were struggling. It was just kind of rough. So I cast out another project, and this is going to be another Baba dupe. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen my video that I did. I really want to create the Baba vest number 75. It is just a beautiful vest, classic, oversized, love it so much. And I did a lot of research to figure out which pattern I was going to do. And I was all set on the pattern I was going to do until my friend Danny on TikTok shared another pattern with me that she thought might be better. And then I decided to do that. So I cast that on Wednesday, my last day of solo parenting. It is the Tailor Vest by Ginger and Thyme. And I am making it 2 sizes larger than me, or larger than what I would normally choose based on my body. And I will also say I'm a very loose knitter. So I would have typically gone down a size because I'm a loose knitter. And instead of that, I went up 2 sizes. So if I was not a loose knitter, I probably would have gone up 3 sizes. This is all just like personal preference and what I'm trying to do based on like the final product that like Baba puts out. I'm trying to make it as close to that as I can. So a picture of the pattern that I'm doing here. As you can see, it is more fitted. I don't want it to be fitted, hence why I'm doing it oversized. So I am using my favorite yarn, Gilead by Durum Natura in the color Poivre Excel. And, oh, I just dropped that. And here's how it's going so far. I love it. I'm super excited for this project. I love it so much. I cast it on because I was having a rough day, but I don't regret it. So there it is. Those are my main 3 whips. I am starting a test knit, which I'm a little bit nervous about, to be honest, but I will be test knitting the Wild Cardigan by Lily Kate Makes, and I'm really excited about it. I am a little nervous, but I'm mostly excited. It is a beautiful all over cable knit pattern, and it has a collar, has buttons. It is just a beautiful cardigan, and I was so excited to be chosen for the test knitters. The testing window goes through January, I believe January 12th or 13th. So I have a good amount of time, and it started at the end of October. I have a good amount of time to finish it. I think that like having the deadline is going to be good for me, but I also am just like so nervous to like let anyone down and like disappoint anyone. And so I kind of like, when I signed up for it, I was kind of like, oh gosh, should I have done that? But I think it's going to be just a beautiful piece, and I'm really excited to make it. I'm really excited to test for her. So I'm going to be prioritizing that. And for that reason, my Froya is on hold. I just have the sleeves left of my Froya cardigan. I love it so much, and I want it like right now so badly, but I don't want to get all cabled out. And so she's going to be on a little break until I finish my Wild cardigan, because it's an all over cable pattern and I need to focus on that to finish it in the testing window. So Froya is on hold. I am going to, once I finish these 2, my Lakes and my Baba dupe cardigan, I'm going to finish my Olga sleeves and be done with that. And then I have some other things that I would like to cast on. I made a swatch for a Lakes V-neck pullover. This yarn, I really love this. I've never ever used it before, but the yarn is Briggs and Little Heritage. It is very affordable for how much you get. It is definitely very rough and like woolly. I have heard that it softens with blocking and it like blooms nicely, but it is like very, very woolly. And there's like little bits of like hay and stuff in it. But this color, I hope you can see it. It's getting darker, daylight savings. It's getting darker, so the light is gonna like be going soon, but this color is just so stunning. I've just been really inspired by other projects I've seen in this beautiful cobalt blue. So that is going to be one of my next projects. And then I will show you the swatch I did for the wild cardigan. This is not the color that I'm going to knit the cardigan up in. That I had to order that separately. But I did have some Wool Dreamers Moda on hand, and so I just wanted to make sure that I have the right gauge. So I made a gauge swatch in a totally different color. This is the gauge swatch. It is a really beautiful pattern. It is, I just love all the different textures in it. So this is not the color I'm making it in. Although that would be cool, but I just didn't think that it would get as much wear. Because like if I just did a simple cardigan in this red, I feel like that would get a lot of wear. But because of the cables, it's like loud pattern, loud color. Personally for me, I just don't know how much wear that would get. So I decided not to do it in this one. And I'm going to do it in like a minty sage green. That's fair. I think it might be the same color that is in the sample that she has on her pattern. The photo that I shared before. I'm not sure, but that is the recommended yarn. And she did hers in like a minty sagey green. So that yarn is literally just supposed to get here today. And I am really excited to start that. So those two are coming up next on my list. And then I know I've shared this swatch before, but this is the next thing that is up on my list is the Thelma sweater by Ingrid Deeb. This is a faux cable sweater and it's like an all over faux cables and really cute. Love the design, love the faux cables, love the ribbing as well. I'm really liking 2x2 rib and just like unique rib situations on sweaters. And I'm doing it in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and the color is Pea Shoots. I will not be holding it with mohair, although I did do that in my swatch. I won't be doing that for the final thing because I don't know if you can tell, the lighting is not great, but the white core of the mohair, I just don't really want that to be, I don't want the marled effect. So I'll just be holding it on its own. So that will be another project that I'm starting. But okay, so I will say that I want to get into my like topics that I want to talk about. Being a slow knitter, okay? So I wouldn't say I'm particularly slow. I'm not like slow, but compared to a lot of like other knitting creators, I feel like I can often feel behind and like I need to catch up or I need to like keep up with other knitting creators. And so I lately have just been trying to like rest in the fact that like knitting is a slow craft, you know, like the reason why we love it so much is because it slows us down and it allows our brains to like think and process, and like using our hands in this way is a beautiful way to create something and a beautiful way to slow down and just like be present, you know, like when I am having a rough day because I'm trying to do too many things on my phone and my kids are like needing me and I'm being pulled in different directions, what I do is I put my phone away and I pick up my knitting and I just sit in the same room as them. And it is amazing the way that it really like slows down my nervous system and allows me to like actually really connect with my kids, even though I am technically doing something else, you know, but just being in the same room as them and like this just like calms my nervous system and allows me to really be present, which is weird because again, like I'm doing something else, but it's just, I love knitting so much. So I'm someone who has obviously multiple projects on the needles at once. I have ADHD and I do really need variety. That has been the key to me actually finishing projects, like larger projects like sweaters, cardigans, etc., is having variety in what I'm making. And so I like to have a textured project, I like to have a bright and colorful project, and I like to have a plain stockinette project. And so having those means it takes me longer to finish one thing. And I have become okay with that, but I'm finding that sometimes the comparison bug can really get to me, and I'm like, well, these other people are finishing projects so much faster than me, and like I need to like it's made me feel like guilty for the process that I have created and figured out over years of knitting, of what I need to do in order to knit the way that I want to knit. And it's made me like second guess that. So I'm just trying to like get back to what I actually love about knitting. It's not finishing more projects than anyone else. That's not what I love about knitting. It's what knitting brings to my life. It's the finished project, and it's also the process and the way it calms my nervous system and allows me to be present while also doing something I really enjoy. And like, it literally, knitting saved my life. Like, I was scrolling my life away for years. So I've had mental health issues in my life, you know, and knitting, I would check out on my phone, like for a lot of years of my motherhood. I had a lot of time of being checked out on my phone, disassociated, and knitting helped me to like stop scrolling my life away. Literally, like it literally like saved my life. And sewing as well, just like hobbies in general did. But knitting, instead, like when I have a minute and I sit down, I pick up a knitting project instead of picking up my phone to scroll. I mean, I still scroll from time to time. I love watching TikToks and, you know, watching Instagram stories just like anybody else. But when I need a minute, instead of picking up my phone that actually doesn't give me any sort of rest at all, I can pick up my knitting, which I know will calm me, will calm my nervous system, will like reconnect me back with my surroundings, and like regulates me in a way that like nothing else really does. So that's something that's been on my mind. So if you are also a slow knitter, or maybe not necessarily slow, but you just don't finish projects as quickly as other people because you have also, you know, maybe you have ADHD and you have a lot of projects on the needles and you work on them throughout the weeks, the years, the months. Sorry, it's our neighbor's dog. Can you not? Shh. Maybe you can relate to that. But in that same, but kind of going along with that, I have been thinking a lot about overconsumption. And I recently just posted an hour-long podcast on my Substack all about finding your style and simplifying and overconsumption and influencer culture and like all my thoughts on it, which my thoughts have really evolved over the years. And I've really this is something I think about a lot because I love personal style and I love fashion. I love make my own clothes. I love secondhand, you know, like I've shared about this before. It is like a big part of my thought life is like style and all that. And I also like a while ago, I don't know, maybe like 7-8 years ago, started getting into slow fashion, which was a big turn from my like emotional shopping ways. You know, I was like an emotional shopper and I was all about fast fashion. I was shopping at Free People every chance I got, shopping at Target, buying clothes left and right to distract me from my emotions and my anxiety. And it worked. It worked for a moment. And then I was left with a closet full of clothes that I didn't really like, that weren't really me, and that didn't really fit me the way I wanted them to. But I bought them because I wanted to like feel good in the moment. I know, I get that there's like science behind it. It's a dopamine thing, whatever. So then I started getting into slow fashion. And like since then, I feel like I just have really changed in that. And not that I'm perfect by any means at this, because I'm not. I mean, all of the jeans that fit me well right now are from Old Navy. I have 3 pairs of Old Navy jeans that I love. And I'm going to wear the heck out of because they fit me really well. And they're really cute on me and I love them. So I'm not like perfect and I'm like, oh, I don't have fast fashion in my life in any way whatsoever. No, that's not me at all. I definitely still do partake in fast fashion from time to time, though I do try to limit it, or I do try to find secondhand first. But I can't like unknow some things that I know in regards to how fast fashion is made and the effect it has on our planet, the effect it has on our fellow humans that have created these things. Like, there's no machine that like you put in fabric and it pops out like a piece of clothing. A human had to work the sewing machine. There's no like completely machine made clothing out there. Like someone had to work the machine, you know? And so, like, I just can't unknow those things. So anyways, this has all been very important to me. I recorded a really long podcast about it and I'm really proud of the podcast. Like, I shared my heart And I tried to be as respectful as I could while also just being honest about like influencer culture and how I just think that it's like really actually harming us as a society. And so this has been on my mind, the overconsumption thing. And I just think like it's kind of seeping into, or it could seep into like knitting. And I do need to speed this up because the sun is like going down. It's 4:40 and it's already this dark. My gosh. So I'm gonna speed this up because this is probably really dark on the video. I might have to record the rest of this later, but basically I've just kind of been a little bit convicted over my need to always be creating more and more with knitting. And like the reasons why I want to create more are probably the same as a lot of people. There's a variety of reasons, you know. I want to create something, like I wrote some things down because I want to work with a certain color or a certain texture or a certain style, because I have like a hole in my closet that I would like to fill, like the Baba vest that I'm making. I would love to have this vest to style and wear, and that's a hole that I'm filling. I don't have anything like that in my closet, and so I get to make it, and that's really fun. I get inspired by people, and like people who are creating things, other creative people. I get inspired by them and want to create something like that they have created or something similar to what they have created. I want to work with different fibers, or I want to learn a new skill or practice a new skill, like color work after my my porcelain sweater debacle. I still want to get back to color work at some point. I've been scared off of it, but I do want to get back to it at some point. And so there's like a lot of reasons why someone might want to make a sweater. Also, maybe you want to knit it for a friend, or, you know, there are just so many reasons why one might want to knit a garment, right? And the reasons are not bad, you know, like those reasons are not bad. But I think that there has to be a line, like my list. Okay, let me see. My list, I already showed you how I do my list. My list of knitting projects that I want to do is literally always growing and changing, because I always am like, I would love to make something like that. I would love to make this. I have yarn for this and I want to make this. This would fit a hole in my closet. You know, all these things. I have all these reasons and all these things that I want to do. And I'm so inspired. Like literally nothing inspires me like the knitting community and like knitting in general, you know? And I'm just always wanting to do more. And I have a buttload of yarn as well that I bought over the years for various projects, for various reasons, you know? So I have a lot there. And I'm just like feeling a little bit convicted in that, because I don't want to just create something that's going to like contribute to like the overconsumption, that's going to end up in a landfill, that's going to end up just like at a thrift store, you know, like that's not, I don't want to do that. I want to create meaningful things that are going to be loved and used, whether it's by me or by someone else. But I think that it's just, I think that that balance can be really hard to find, because there are so many different reasons why we want to create as knitters, you know? So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know that people stand in different places all across the board on this. For me, because knitting is such a big thing that has benefited my mental health, I don't ever foresee a time where I will not be knitting. But I do think that I can get more mindful over the projects that I choose to cast on, and the projects that I choose, like the yarn I choose to use, the fiber I choose to use, all of that, you know, like I think that, I mean, all of us could be more mindful in different areas, but that is something that I'm really going to try to get better at. Not buying yarn is a great place to start for me. Not buying any more yarn, because I do have a lot and I have enough yarn to keep me knitting for probably years, to be honest. Well, maybe like the next year, at the very least the next year, you know, if not longer. And so that's just, I don't know, I don't have a plan and I don't have a challenge or anything. These are just my very like beginning thoughts. And yeah, but I would really love to know your thoughts on this. I love hearing from other like creative people's point of view when it comes to stuff like this, because I know, like I said, everyone knits for different reasons. And I think the fact that most knitters are mindful of the fibers that they're using. Okay, just back up. The fact that knitting is such a slow craft by nature, that alone is like, you know, we're doing great with that, because this is like what we have chosen to do, you know? We have chosen to create things with our hands that take a long time to create, and it is a slow craft by nature. And so that is one thing that is amazing about what we do. The next thing is that most knitters that I come across are very mindful of the materials that they're knitting with, the fibers that they're knitting with, and not putting more plastic into the world, or not supporting more plastic, like acrylic yarns and stuff like that. I know that some people like acrylic yarns, so I don't want to like yuck anyone's yum by any means, but it does come down to acrylic yarn and things made with acrylic yarn are going to be around for centuries after like we are gone. Whereas like something like wool, cotton, linen, all those things biodegrade after time. So they're like, that's something to consider as well. But I do think that most knitters are very mindful in that sense, and like as much as we possibly can stick to the natural fibers and things that will biodegrade one day, which I think that that is important too. So like one thing, so I in the podcast episode of my Substack, which I'll link it below, I mean, shameless plug, I love my podcast. I mean, it's me talking to myself, but I try to be very intentional about the things that I talk about, and I try to like create value with the things that I talk about. And I'm really proud of the one that I did on finding your style, and I think it's really well done, and I think it's really good. But I kind of go over like how to find your style, and it's not by going out and buying more things. It's by simplifying what you have and narrowing in on what you actually love and care about and want to wear and all of that. And so I'm trying to kind of carry that over to like my knitting practices, and the majority of things that I knit, the vast majority, are for myself. And so if I'm knitting for myself, I want to at least be very mindful of these things. And I like wrote down a couple questions like, will it get worn often? Is it my color? Does it fill a hole in my closet? Does it bring me joy? Can it be worn more than just one single way? You know, like, is it versatile? Stuff like that. Asking myself questions like that before I buy yarn or cast on a project. Because if I'm going to use my time and my resources, which time is the most valuable resource by far, but if I'm going to use that to create something, it's got to fit that criteria, you know, like it's got to be something that's going to get worn a lot. I have made things in the past that I liked, but they were kind of like an impulse cast on, and they are not my style. There are plenty of things that don't fit me, or they just were too like out there. Like I'm thinking of the Limfjord sweater that I made, which is a really cute design. I love the squiggles. I'll post a photo of mine here. I really like the design. It's just not something that I'm gonna wear in my everyday life. And there's kind of like just one way to wear it, you know, like there's not really multiple ways to wear it, and it doesn't ever get worn, and I will probably end up selling it. It was made with natural fibers, so that's one thing that I feel good about. But stuff like that, like, is it just something that's catching my eye on social media? Or is it going to actually like add value to my life in the long run? Like, do I see myself wearing this in like 5 years down the line? You know, something like this vest and my Lakes pullover and my Baba cardigan dupe, those are all things I see myself wearing 10 years down the line, like for years to come, and maybe even passing down to my kids if they want them, you know? But there are certain things that I have made in the past that I'm like, I should have asked myself these questions before I cast that on. You know, impulse cast-ons are definitely a thing for me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I land on it all. I still have my list of projects that I would love to make one day, and I'm gonna like keep working through them and just try to figure out like that balance between over consuming as far as buying yarn and whatever. I know that there are ways to buy yarn secondhand and all of that, and I think that's awesome. I've actually bought yarn on eBay a handful of times, and it's been a great experience for me. So I will do that if the day comes when I run out of yarn. I don't see that happening anytime soon. My husband definitely doesn't either. But another thing that kind of goes along with this, like I have most of the things that I make for myself are basic, like on the more basic side, you know, like, and those have been my favorite, like my Sonia sweater that I shared before, my sweater number 23. They're simple designs that are done in a really nice, elevated way. And those are the things that get worn a ton. And so how many simple designs, like how many simple basic sweaters do I need? Even though they do bring me so much joy to make, you know? How many do I need? So anyways, I don't know. These are all just like thoughts that are like jumbling around in my head that I'm working through. I don't have any answers because, like I said, I don't foresee a time in my life when I will not be knitting anything, you know? Obviously, there are like ebbs and flows. Sometimes I go weeks without, you know, finishing anything or working on anything. Usually like in summer is when like my sewing habit peaks and my knitting habit is kind of at a low. But I don't foresee there ever being a time when I'm not going to have knitting in my life. And so I need to figure out like some sort of balance in this, or some sort of way to sustainably cycle through the projects that I've finished that are not going to be worn by me, and maybe give them or sell them to someone who will wear them and love them. You know, I don't know. I just got to figure some stuff out, you know? So anyways, I would really love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to close this out now because it is getting so dark. I can hardly see my knitting, which I can imagine that the video quality is not great. So I apologize. I need to get like a light or something because this is my only time I can record is at like 4 to 5 p.m. And so I need to get, yeah, like a light of some sort for these cozy times. But let me know your thoughts on this, if you will, in the comments. I love this. I love thinking about this kind of stuff and talking about this kind of stuff, even though it does kind of make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And like when I first started thinking about it, I like made myself defensive. Like I felt defensive against myself for having these thoughts. And it can be uncomfortable to think these things because knitting is such a wonderful hobby that has brought joy to all of our lives. It's why we're here. It's why I have this knitting podcast. It's why you're watching this knitting podcast, hopefully knitting something alongside me. But I do also want to remain mindful, and I don't want to be an overconsumer, and I don't want to contribute to waste. And yeah, so let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're working on. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, that's all for episode 3. I will be back hopefully next week with episode 4, and hopefully at least 2 finished objects. We will see. Okay, bye.